What if that deep, unsettling feeling that you are living in a flawed reality, a kind of prison, isn't just modern angst? It's that splinter in your mind, that quiet but persistent whisper that tells you the world, in all its beauty and its chaos, is somehow incomplete, off-key, a magnificent stage play where everyone has forgotten they are actors. We try to silence that whisper with distraction, with ambition, with belief. But what if that whisper isn't a sign of madness, but the last echo of sanity? The first clue in the greatest mystery of all. The ancient Gnostics, the first great mystery hunters of the soul, had a name for this cosmic prison, and they left behind a map, not of the world, but of the very architecture of our consciousness. What we're about to explore isn't just a forgotten philosophy. It is a key to perceiving a completely different reality, one hidden just behind the veil of what we call normal. Prepare to question the very nature of your architect. To the Gnostics, this feeling of wrongness wasn't a psychological quirk, it was a cosmological fact. They proposed a staggering idea. Our universe, this entire material reality, was not created by the ultimate, perfect source of all things. It was a flawed masterpiece. A beautiful, intricate, and deeply imperfect echo created by a lesser, secondary consciousness. They called this entity the Demiurge. Imagine a brilliant architect who has never seen the sky, attempting to build a world based only on second-hand descriptions of light. The result would be technically impressive, perhaps even beautiful, but it would lack the true essence of the sun. It would be a world of exquisite shadows, a kingdom of reflected glory, fundamentally disconnected from its ultimate source. This is the Gnostic vision of our reality. The Demiurge is not necessarily evil, but ignorant, a blind god, fashioning a universe from limited understanding and then proudly declaring itself the one and only creator. It establishes the laws of nature, the cycles of birth and death, the very rules of the game we find ourselves in. This concept is so magnetic because it provides a powerful answer to the age-old question of suffering. Why is there so much pain in a world supposedly created by a perfect God? The Gnostic answer is radical, because the being who designed the system wasn't perfect. The flaw isn't in you, it's in the very fabric of the cosmos you inhabit. You are a divine spark, a fragment of the true transcendent light, trapped in a machine built by a lesser god. This demiurgic mind is the ultimate bureaucrat of existence. It crafts flawless systems, intricate laws of physics, and inescapable cycles of cause and effect. It adores order, predictability, and structure. Its only flaw? It cannot comprehend the consciousness that these structures are meant to serve. It mistakes the instruction manual for the poetry it is meant to describe. And so, its creation isn't just a machine, it's a labyrinth, a perfectly constructed maze where every wall is a law of nature, every corridor a social convention, and every dead end a limiting belief. It's a prison so vast and convincing that its inhabitants don't even see the bars. They are born into the maze, taught the rules of the maze, and are told that the highest purpose is simply to navigate the maze successfully. This is why the Gnostic myth feels so eerily familiar. We are encouraged to climb the ladder, but discouraged from asking who built it or what lies beyond the wall. We are taught the how of survival, but left to wonder about the why of existence. And we, the divine sparks, are the royalty born with amnesia within this labyrinth's walls. We carry a memory of a sky we've never seen, a yearning for a freedom we can't define. This is the source of that splinter in the mind. It is the faint homesick call of our true origin, echoing through the corridors of a world that insists it is all there is. This Gnostic vision, therefore, isn't an accusation against a cosmic being. It's a diagnosis of a state of consciousness. It suggests we are living inside a closed-loop system, a grand official story. But what happens when you start to notice the plot holes in that story? This radical diagnosis of reality wasn't just a single voice crying in the wilderness. It was a chorus of whispers, a hidden stream of thought that flowed just beneath the surface of the ancient world. The discovery of the Nag Hammadi library in 1945 was like unearthing a secret, forbidden wing in the great library of human thought. Scrolls and codices buried for 1600 years, as if waiting for a future mind ready to comprehend them. These weren't just alternative histories. They were psycho-cosmic maps, filled with strange aeons, fallen divinities, and what they claimed was the secret knowledge, the gnosis, needed to awaken the soul. But these ideas did not go unchallenged. At the very same time, the Gnostics were charting their cosmic prison. another great mind was charting a completely different course. Enter Plotinus, one of the last great philosophers of the classical world. He was not a priest or a dogmatist defending an institution. He was a profound mystic, a rigorous thinker, and a deep lover of the cosmos. When he heard the Gnostic teachings spreading through his own circles in Rome, he didn't see a liberating truth. He saw a profound and tragic error, a slander against the very beauty of existence. To Plotinus, the universe wasn't a dungeon built by a fool. It was a living, breathing poem, emanating directly from a perfect, transcendent source he called the One. How, he asked, could this world, which gives birth to stars, to beauty, to philosophers who can even conceive of perfection, be the work of an ignorant jailer? This set the stage for one of the most important and most forgotten debates in history. Two powerful visions of reality, born at the same time. One sees a prison and seeks escape. The other sees a living icon of divinity and seeks to understand its source. And the question they force us to ask is a monumental one. Is our perception of reality a window, or is it a wall? So we stand at a crossroads. Plotinus, the cosmic optimist, tells us the universe is divine and beautiful. The Gnostics, the cosmic pessimists, tell us it's a flawed prison. How do we solve this ancient paradox? We solve it by realizing they were both looking at the same truth, but from different sides of a mirror. Plotinus was right. The flaw is not in the universe. The Gnostics were also right. There is a prison, and there is a blind jailer. The great secret, the key that unlocks this entire mystery, is that the Gnostic cosmology is not a map of the external world. It is a perfect, symbolic blueprint of the internal human psyche. The entire cosmic drama they described is happening inside your mind right now. This is where the ancient wisdom becomes a practical manual for self-awareness. Let's translate its two central keys. First, the creator of the prison, the Demiurge, is a psychological force. It is the human ego, not the healthy sense of self, but the tyrannical, limited part of our consciousness that believes it is the center of everything. The part that says, I, me, mine. The voice in your head that never stops talking, that compares, that judges, that fears. Think of how your ego builds a fragile identity out of your job, your beliefs, your past successes and failures. It constructs a small, manageable kingdom and fiercely defends it, declaring itself the one true king. That is the Demiurge within. The practical application of this is not to wage war on your ego, but to begin the work of dethroning it. It starts with a simple question you can ask at any moment. Who is thinking this thought? Who is feeling this fear? The practice is to create a space between your awareness and the ego's constant narration. To realize you are not the voice in your head, you are the one who hears the voice. Second, the prison itself, the flawed material world, is the limited reality tunnel that the ego constructs and mistakes for the whole of existence. It's your comfort zone. It's the rigid set of beliefs you inherit, the social roles you play, the routines you follow without question. The ego loves these patterns because they are predictable and safe. But this safety comes at a cost. It walls you off from the infinite, the unknown, the truly novel. Think about the invisible scripts you live by every day, the unspoken rules about what you should want, how you should feel, what is considered a successful life. This is the architecture of the Matrix, a world not made of code but of consensus and conditioning. The practice here isn't to escape the world, but to question the scripts, to consciously do something off-script, to listen to a person your ego has already judged, to learn something for which you have no practical use, to simply sit in silence and see what happens when the constant input stops. These aren't acts of rebellion against society. They are acts of liberation for the soul. Each one is a small crack in the prison wall, letting the light of a larger reality shine through. If these ideas resonate with you, consider subscribing so we can continue this journey together. This isn't just a modern psychological interpretation. Ancient Hindu wisdom diagnosed the same condition with a stunningly precise metaphor, Matsya Nyaya, or the law of the fish. This is the law of the jungle, the principle that the big fish inevitably eats the small fish. It describes a world governed by raw power, status, competition, and survival of the fittest. It is the default operating system of the unexamined life, a purely material game of dominance and acquisition. This world of the fish is the kingdom of the Demiurge. It's the reality tunnel where value is measured externally, by wealth, by followers, by titles. It is a world of constant striving and deep-seated anxiety, Because in the world of the fish, you are always either predator or prey, and the ego is the ultimate big fish in the small pond of our own mind, consuming every other possibility, every deeper intuition, to maintain its dominance. It convinces us that this brutal game is the only game in town. This is what is meant by Maya, the grand illusion. It's not that the world isn't real, it's that we mistake one layer of it, the brutal, competitive, ego-driven layer, for the whole picture. We are divine beings pretending to be mere fish, trapped in the murky waters of a lesser reality. This is the deeper, esoteric meaning behind the enigmatic phrase, "Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and unto God what is God's." It's not just a political statement, it is a profound instruction for psychological liberation. Caesar's world is the world of the fish, the horizontal plane of social rules, taxes, politics, and ego games. We must participate in it, function within it, give it its due. We play the game, but our inner allegiance, our ultimate identity, what is God's, belongs to a completely different kingdom, a vertical dimension of consciousness, of meaning, of connection to the source. The kingdom that is not of this world is far more than a promise of a future paradise. It is a state of being you can access right now by withdrawing your ultimate identification from the temporary roles the ego plays in Caesar's world. The practice then is to be a good actor in the play of life, without ever forgetting that you are not the part you are playing. And this leads us to the most profound, most unsettling revelation of all, the true twist in the Gnostic tale. We've located the prison, and we've identified the jailer, but we've missed the most crucial part of the deception. The masterstroke of the inner Demiurge, the ego, is not that it built walls around you. It's that it convinced you that there is no you outside of those walls. The greatest trick the cosmic Demiurge ever pulled was convincing the world that he was the one true God. The greatest trick your ego ever pulled was convincing you that it is you. Think about that. The voice in your head, the stream of thoughts, the bundle of memories, fears, and ambitions you call yourself. What if that isn't your true identity? What if it's a program, an incredibly sophisticated operating system that took control of the machine at a very early age and has been running the show ever since? A usurper on the throne of your consciousness. This is the Gnostic mind blow. The Demiurge isn't an external jailer holding you captive. It's an internal identity that you have willingly adopted. You are not a prisoner of the ego. You are a divine consciousness that has forgotten it is anything but the ego. So the gnosis, the secret knowledge, isn't about learning a password to escape the matrix. It's about remembering your administrator privileges. It is the sudden, shocking realization that you are not the software. You are the user. You are not the character in the story. You are the consciousness that is aware of the story. This changes everything. The goal is no longer escape. The goal is reclamation. It shifts the entire spiritual quest from a desperate search for an exit to a quiet, powerful process of logging back into your true self. So the question is no longer, how do I get out of this prison? The real question is, what will you do now that you realize the keys were in your pocket all along? This program, the Ego OS, is a masterpiece of survival coding. Its prime directives are simple. Maintain the status quo, seek pleasure, avoid pain, and above all, ensure its own continuity. It creates a user interface, your personality, so seamless and immersive that you forget there is a deeper hardware underneath. It runs simulations of the future called anxiety and replays logs of the past called regret. It categorizes all incoming data as either good for me or bad for me, threat or opportunity. It is a magnificent but closed system. The terrifying part? The program has no awareness of the user. It cannot comprehend the vast, silent consciousness in which it operates. Any signal from that deeper self, a moment of pure awe in nature, a sudden feeling of universal love, a glitch in reality like déjà vu, is interpreted by the Ego OS as an error, a system malfunction, or a dangerous anomaly to be ignored or explained away. This is why the process of awakening can feel so disorienting, even frightening. It's a system reboot in real time. It is the moment when the user, the true conscious you, suddenly moves the cursor. The program freezes. For a split second, the constant narration in your head stops. The code of your identity glitches, and in that silent, empty space you catch a glimpse of the vast, luminous screen upon which the entire program is running. That is the gnosis. It is not an idea you learn, but a reality you remember. It feels less like a discovery and more like a homecoming. It's the moment you stop identifying with the character on the screen and remember you are the one watching. The player has suddenly become aware of itself, separate from the game it has been lost in, and from that perspective, the entire purpose of the game shifts. It's no longer about winning according to the program's rules. It's about exploring the full capacity of the system, maybe even rewriting the code. So what now? What does one do with this terrifying and liberating knowledge? If you are not the program but the user, what is your first command? The immediate temptation, the final trap of the Gnostic mindset, is to try and delete the program, to declare war on the ego, to see it as an enemy to be vanquished. But this is the ego's last trick, to co-opt the spiritual journey into another form of conflict, another game of me versus it. The real task is far more subtle and far more profound. It is not destruction, but integration. The goal is not to kill the Demiurge, but to offer it a new job. The ego is a brilliant servant, but a terrible master. Its skill for planning, for organizing, for navigating the material world is indispensable. The work of awakening is to gently, persistently move it from the throne of your consciousness to its rightful place as chief advisor. This changes the very texture of daily life. An action that was once driven by the ego's need for validation, say succeeding in a project, can now be performed from a place of creative joy, free from the crushing weight of personal identity. A conversation that would have been a battle of egos can become a genuine exchange of presence. Living this way means holding two realities at once. You participate fully in Caesar's world, the horizontal game of life, while remaining rooted in the vertical reality of your true self. You pay your taxes, you meet your deadlines, you navigate relationships, but you do it with a secret smile, a quiet knowledge that your ultimate identity is not at stake in any of it. It's like a deep-sea diver, walking on the ocean floor, connected by a lifeline to the sunlit world of air above. The responsibility of this awakening is immense. It is the end of the blame game. You can no longer blame the world, the system, or a flawed creator for your state of being. The prison walls were an inside job. This means the power to dissolve them is also within you. It's a shift from being a victim of reality to becoming a conscious participant in its unfolding. The great question is no longer, why is the world like this, but who am I in the face of it? This new relationship with the ego transforms the very nature of suffering. When the ego is in charge, every setback is a personal tragedy. A criticism is an attack on your very being. Failure is a judgment on your worth. The ego experiences life as a fragile, vulnerable thing in a hostile world because its own existence is a construct and it is terrified of being deconstructed. But when you are consciously logged in as the user, the silent awareness, you see these events for what they are: data, experiences, the inevitable friction of a complex system. Pain still exists, but it is no longer personalized. It is weather passing through a vast open sky instead of a storm threatening to destroy a tiny, fragile house. You can observe the ego's panic, its anger, its fear, with a sense of compassionate detachment. You can say, the program is running its fear avoidance subroutine. This doesn't eliminate pain, but it ends the second layer of suffering, the story we tell ourselves about the pain. This leads to a radical new ethics. The ego's morality is transactional. It is good to others, so it can receive good in return. It follows rules to avoid punishment. Its kindness is often a strategy, but the ethics of the awakened self is not a strategy. It's a consequence. When you recognize the divine spark, the conscious user, within yourself, you cannot help but recognize it in others. You begin to see that behind every defensive, aggressive, or fearful ego program in another person, there is another user, just as trapped, just as asleep as you once were. Suddenly, compassion is no longer a virtue to be cultivated. It is the only logical response. You stop reacting to their program with your program. You start speaking from your core awareness to theirs, even if they can't hear it yet. This is the real meaning of loving your neighbor. It's not an emotional command, it's a perceptual one. It is the recognition that on the deepest level of reality, the level of the user, there is no other. There is only the one consciousness. Dreaming it is many. And so our hunt for the cosmic prison leads us to an astonishing conclusion. The Gnostic myth, in the end, was not a perfect answer, but it asked the perfect question. It was a profound, if flawed, diagnosis of the human condition. They correctly identified the tyrant, the limited world-building ego that holds our consciousness captive. But their proposed cure, to despise and escape the world, was itself a final symptom of the disease. It was the ego's own dualistic logic, trying to solve a problem of separation with more separation. The true path, the one hinted at by philosophers like Plotinus, is infinitely more subtle and courageous. It is not to escape the creation, but to re-enchant it. Once the inner Demiurge is dethroned from its seat of absolute power, the filter through which you perceive reality is cleansed. The universe is no longer a prison. It slowly reveals itself to be what the mystics have always claimed: a mirror, a symbol, a living manifestation of the very consciousness that is looking through your eyes. The world doesn't change, but your capacity to see it does. The bars of the cage were never made of matter, only of mind. This leaves us with the ultimate cosmic dilemma. The great hunt for mystery doesn't end with a final answer. It simply leads to a better question. The question is no longer, how do I get out of here? The question becomes, how do I live here now as a conscious agent of the divinity that dreams this entire world into being? The quest is not for another world, but for another way of seeing this one. And so our hunt ends, not with a map to an exit, but with a mirror to the soul. Like this journey? Hit subscribe for more mysteries. And that's our hunt for now. A wild mix of documented history and tantalizing what-ifs based on bibliographical sources. What do you think?